this photo with like some people like having food, and then you see that, okay, you can actually choose to join into the squad if you want to. You can choose to connect with them. So this is also like how we see that, how do people connect these days? Because it's not really straightforward. How do you find a person that is suitable for you? It's all like mutual interests. Once again, so the base question is like, how do you create this environment that people can be themselves? I am myself now with you, but it's a side of myself that I'm not with my parents, for example. And it's all that we believe is creating then, well, different squads basically, different communities you can express yourself.
Welcome to Mangtas Nation Season 2. This season is all about tech of the future. We'll be sharing real-world experiences and featuring astounding guests to help guide you in your tech journey. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
I'm ready.
I'm ready.
I'm ready.
The show starts right now.
Hello, everyone. This is Jackie Demeng together with Wouter Del Valle, and welcome to the Mangtas Nation podcast, where we bring you the most inspiring and insightful tech stories from around the world. Today, we're thrilled to have another exceptional guest joining us. With her outstanding achievements and diverse background, she is a true trailblazer in the field of social tech. As a CEO and co-founder of Skapa, the AI social tech company behind the popular social networks Leka and Fika, our guest has helped revolutionize the way people connect and engage online. Her experience working with some of the world's most prestigious organizations has given her a unique perspective on business and leadership, and we absolutely can't wait to hear her personal insights and stories today. So sit back, relax, and get ready to be inspired. Listeners, please join us in welcoming Denise Sandquist. Hey Denise, welcome to the show.
Hi Jackie, very nice to be here, and thank you so much for the introduction.
Thank you. Well, before anything else, before we dive to your business and all the other juicy details, let's start with one of the juiciest ones. Can you tell us a bit about yourself and your interesting background, please, Denise?
Yes, sure. So my name is Denise Sandquist. I'm 32 years old. I grew up in Stockholm, Sweden, but I'm adopted from Vietnam. So I was born in Hanoi, adopted when I was a baby. Grew up in Sweden, wanted to become a diplomat because I wanted to sort of change the world. So I did this military service as military interpreter and interrogator in Russian, because I knew that if I would do this military service, I could work at the Swedish embassy in Moscow. So I did it after high school. It's a quite tough education, so about 600 new words in Russian per week, new grammar, eliminating exams. Every Friday, we have to score about 97%, 3 times in a row, if not, you're kicked out. So that kind of very social year after my high school. If you were able to pass that, you would get employed by the Swedish Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which I did. So I moved to Moscow when I was 21, lived there, worked at the Swedish embassy. At that time, I was the same age as my Vietnamese mom was when she gave birth to me. Thought, never been to Vietnam, time to go, maybe find some birth parents. Was backpacking in Southeast Asia, came to the hospital where I was born, checked if they had any information. They didn't have any, and I thought, okay.
And that was your first time in Vietnam?
That was the first time in Vietnam. Oh. So I thought, now I can speak English, Swedish, Russian, some French. I don't know if I want to become a diplomat anymore. I don't know if that is how I change the world the best. So I thought, no matter if I want to do business or if I want to become a diplomat, it's always good to know Mandarin. So I thought I moved to China, to a small city there. I go all in, study Mandarin the same way as I did Russian, and I can come back to Vietnam to look for birth parents. So I lived in China for 1.5 years in a smaller city there called Nanning. Was looking for my birth parents, back and forth. Lived in Thailand as well, doing Thai boxing, which is my favorite sport, and lived in northern Vietnam a bit in 2015 to self-study some Vietnamese and teach some English, that kind of thing. And then moved back to Sweden. So that was some background before I started at the Stockholm School of Economics, and then I had this interest for for Vietnam, well, it started more from a business perspective. So I had an internship in Vietnam during my time at the Stockholm School of Economics in 2016. And during that internship, I was, posted on Facebook that I was looking for my Vietnamese mother and found her thanks to the help of thousands of strangers. So I think that coming down to the entrepreneurial story and why Vietnam, it's I always wanted to do something for Vietnam in Vietnam, and I think that connections and meaningful connections and doing something, actually B2C and not B2B, that was something that became even stronger when I was helped by these hundreds of thousands of strangers. So what I was trying to do in 3 years was done in 18 days, thanks to them. So that's a bit about me, about my background, and so yeah.
Nice. Well, it seems as if you've done so many things already. It's as if you're 96 now. So, like from Sweden, go to Vietnam, just, study, go to Russia, study Russian, go to China, study China, go to Thailand, win the Thai boxing competition. But, going to a bit more on the business side, Denise, let's talk about your company, the one that you founded in Vietnam. So tell us a bit more about Skapa.
Yes. I wasn't maybe living my whole life thinking that I would become an entrepreneur, like a tech entrepreneur or so. But after that happened in Vietnam, I came back to Sweden. I spoke with my co-founder, Oscar, who has a background in engineering, physics, and machine learning. And I simply said that, hey, Vietnam is it's so up and coming. It's like China, like 7 years ago, so many opportunities. And Oscar, who had his background in machine learning AI, well, this was 2017, right? So this was pre-ChatGPT and the whole boom that is in right now. But I was telling him, like, is it possible to use a lot of data, and could we maybe individualize the whole like matchmaking or connection process, helping people that are suitable for each other to connect? And then he said, yes, that is theoretically possible. So it was with that idea that we wanted to start initially Fika, which is a female-focused AI social and dating app, and then move to a more platform where all types of connections could be formed. So I told Oscar about Vietnam, about that we should do something in AI tech, something about connections. And then we moved to Vietnam. I worked at another company, bootstrapped, and grew Leka to a couple of hundreds of thousands, I think, downloads. And then we took in external capital, and now we have another app, and this is 2 years later, and so yeah.
Wow,
that's
it all sounds so.
And I guess, I mean, what's really touched the nerve, right, is you thought about social tech because of how social media ultimately helped you solve a problem that took you forever to solve by yourself, right? What did you say? It took you 13 days. What took you several years, right? What you tried to do for several years. Now, when you say, and I guess maybe I'd like to dig a little bit deeper into what you just said, helping people who are suitable connect. That's kind of what I took from what you said. What does that mean, right? How do you define suitable? And what is when you say connect, is this limited to dating, or are you bringing this to a whole different level?
No, it's a really good question. And that is something that, honestly, I can say that when we started out with Fika, the dating app, it was more the whole thing around that everyone has a taste, and it's so complex when it comes to relationships. It's about what you want in this stage, and it's a lot of different things. Like, it's not about that two people who are exactly the same or a perfect match. It can be like two opposites, right? That could be the perfect match. So I think that the view of when starting Fika was simply to use a lot of pre-match data and post-match data, and simply see that maybe this is the person that you initially like, but then when we're having also post-match data, this is actually the people that you interact a lot with. These are the ones that you go on successful dates with, etc., etc. So combine the pre and post-match. But then, since in the end, it's all about collecting a lot of data based on everything, not only about your behavior, but like simply finding out more about who you are as a person. And I think that I often said that it will not be a time when you open up Fika and you see like, oh, this is the love of my life initially, because a lot of things is based on chemistry, attraction, sense of humor, the physical meeting. So what we realized is that we always knew that we can optimize around that people suitable based on, all right, maybe like romantic preference, based on what you're looking for, based on personality types and different things could be put together. But it is quite complex. And in the end, also why we have a new app, so Fika 2.0 turned out to become Leka, was simply that we always wanted to solve around connecting people for any types of relationships. And I think that sometimes, you meet someone on a date and then you realize that, okay, there's no really spark here. Maybe we're better off as friends. Or maybe sometimes you start off as friends and then a spark happens and something happens. So I think that the end game is not about finding someone to marry or to date. It's more around that. I think that all of us can relate to that. Sometimes you just need someone to talk to. You feel a bit lonely. Like you just need more belonging, more like connections in this world, these type of connections. So when we say about it sounds a bit fluffy. I agree with this meaningful connections, but it's really about that. The deeper problem is not about finding a date, or so it's simply about helping us fulfill this need of connecting with people that could be suitable to us. But then it's about that we have different sides, right? We are the Ironman runner, we are the family father, you are the business guy. We are different, we're playing different roles, and we have different hats and can connect with people in the different types of settings. So this is what we're doing with Leka. It's simply that different groups based on interest, basically. That's how you can connect with people. And the really deep, if you sum up even more problem that we want to solve around, and what we're doing is that social media these days are connecting us a lot. We are extremely connected, but we are lonelier than ever. And we believe that what social media 2.0 needs to solve is simply how can you make us feel a type of belonging and create more deeper, meaningful connections, like fulfill us in that way. So that is our take on this whole connections. So it's more than just being connected like Facebook friends. It's something deeper, and you can be that in different ways.
So meaningful connections and whatever that means, right? I love the evolution of the story. And I guess one question that I would have is, what are some surprising insights that you have seen? Like I think you go into this and you assume, I think you alluded to this, you assume that all similar interests, okay, they'll match. Turns out if they're opposite, they may actually match. Have you seen some really weird scenarios and patterns that actually surprised you based on your data?
I think that the thing that maybe surprised us the most is it's not only our data, but it's why are people using, first of all, dating apps? Because we started as a dating app. And if you're looking at Vietnam, the number one reason is not to hook up. Maybe people lie about that. And it's not actually to find a partner. But the main reason is to find someone to talk to, someone to connect with. I think that was quite when we sort of realized that, and we sort of our own data that, what is the end game? Is the end game to immediately meet up or hook up, or is it what is it? But you could see that it's especially with the young generation. I think that is the big difference also with, I wouldn't say it's completely our data, but it's also that we know that Gen Z and millennials, I guess all of us are millennials here. The big difference is that, we maybe make a difference if you meet someone online or offline as a friend, but Gen Zs, they grow up with social media, so they don't make any difference. And you can have an interaction online, and it's the same. Well, it's the same for them as to have something offline. So I think that was something that we saw, that it's simply, you should create an environment that people can, interact like in a very good way, like socially on the platform. And then another thing that we realized is with our data, with qualitative and quantitative data, was that we always wanted to solve around how do people connect better. And then we saw this whole thing that who do you find someone who is perfect for you, whatever that is. So what is perfect for me is different from what's perfect for you, right? And how do I know what is perfect for me if I don't know myself, etc., etc.? And then we have the big issue, and also comes to data collection, that how can we know who you are if you are not really true about who you are, right? Comes down to the whole, summing out, the whole difficulty with social media these days, because everyone is a little bit fake, right? We're like our top one, and like images ourselves. So then we saw that by speaking to our users, we saw that a lot of people, so we have 85% Gen Zs, that's what we had in Fika, and we saw that most people had multiple social media accounts. You have your Finsta, which is your fake Instagram account. You have your Insta, which is your real Instagram account where you are yourself, and you have your Instagram account where you are the foodie, you have different sides of you. And then the reason why 9 out of 10 don't want to post is because that they are afraid to offend others, simply. So we can see that it's like posting something that is like irrelevant. So if I have a tattoo and I want to post about it, but I don't want to post about it really because I'm afraid to offend someone who is maybe in my social graph, in my social network. So a big realization was that like we have this huge need of sharing different parts of ourselves, but to people that are likely to appreciate those sides. So I think that was something that was the whole big, like our realization that, all right, how do you create an environment where people can sort of be themselves, and what is yourself? Because you have a friend and maybe you want to show 2 out of 10 sides to that friend. That does, just because this is a working friend or whatever, that doesn't mean that you are not the tennis guy or like the blah, 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 the yoga girl and so and so. So how can we create an environment where you simply are yourself, but to people that would appreciate those sides of yourselves? So those are the things, a lot of insights, talking to our users, clearly moving from creating a dating app initially, female focus for the Asian audience, to realizing that this is the problem that you want to solve, and the road towards solving that, it's not exactly like that. And for us, when we realized that, all right, yeah, and when we realized that, okay, we wanted to rebrand Fika towards a social app where you can find anyone based on like who you are for friendship, romantic relationships, and you can maintain your relationships as well. And obviously, you don't want to hang out with you cannot be with your wife, right, or your boyfriend in something that is seen as a dating app. So that is the thing. So just we had that, we do a couples version with Fika. That is exactly what we did last year. It's like, okay, you go into the couples version. So then we have to cut off, right? So if you're in the couples mood, other people cannot see you. But that's a very lonely experience. And just because now on Fika, I can say honestly, just because on Fika right now, you can put on the profile that you're only looking for friends. You're only looking for networking. And you can filter and only find these people. Just because you say that you solve the problem, is that really the problem that we're solving? And that is the whole thing with this entrepreneurial journey. And so that we realized also, we thought we can always like rebrand towards like dating, to social and dating, then to social. We did this survey in October, 600 respondents, 60% know about us, because we are closer to 2 million downloads now, as Fika, the dating app, which is positive, right? But also negative in another way. And then my co-founder said, hey, it looks like the problem that we are, the product that we are developing towards, it's so different from the base dating app that we were doing 2 years ago. Would it make sense to break it out? Which is what we did. So a lot of learnings, and I think that's the whole entrepreneurial journey, right? You start with wanting to solve a problem.
Machine learnings and personal learnings.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's how startups survive at the end of the day, right? It's the ones that, not the ones with the best idea initially, but the ones that adapt the best based on what the market tells them, right? I have a quick follow-up question, but before I do, just to be very clear, we're not all millennials here, especially not Jackie.
Oh, you are... okay, I thought so.
Just kidding. No, just kidding.
No, I'm Gen Z.
Yeah, sure. No, so I wanted to ask you, how do you create an environment where people are truly themselves? What's the magic sauce? You know, I have not. I'm gonna be a bit frank here. I know very few people that are truly themselves, and how do you create that environment? What are the key components and ingredients for you to get there?
Yeah, exactly. That's a $1 billion question. So what we have done. So this is Leka, right? So I think that maybe you are familiar with the app Be Real, or maybe not. So Be Real is a huge social media app right now, and most of the users are Gen Zs. And Be Real, for example, then it's the whole thing that once per day you get a notification, and then you have 2 minutes to post, and then you can only post with your front cam and your back cam, and you cannot upload anything from your camera, or you cannot filter it and so. And this is like completely blown up, right? Like blown up. Be Real is an example of an app that is, they closed their Series B last year, 60 million USD, they valued to 600 million USD. And it's simply, Be Real is one example, but Paparazzi and Dispo or other apps that are examples of just that, you know, that authenticity is like how you have to be. Like you have to be authentic in some way. So that comes down to how we do it, is that we are a little bit as Be Real in the sense that when you're posting in the app, you can just use your in-app camera, but we are not forcing people to like, wow, it comes on notification and now it's time to be real, because what we believe is that, well, yes, it is real in a sense, but it's actually just like what you're doing in this like minute of like 2 windows, right? It's just what you're doing right then. So it's the really you sort of, but you can actually choose to post later. Well, in that sense. So what we are doing is that in Leka, so we're having different squads. So squads are different communities based on interests. So I'm in a cat squad because I really like cats. Then I'm in the Skapa squad because, yeah, obviously. And then I have created an investor squad as well. And then I'm in I could also potentially be like in a Thai box squad, like different sides of me. And then in every squad, there is a squad leader or squad leaders, like a community manager. And maximum once per day, the squad leader can make a mission that the other people in the squad should do. So this mission is a little bit similar to the prompt that is sent out by Be Real. So when you open up Leka, the first screen you see is the camera. And then it says that, so if I'm in the Skapa squad or if I'm in the cat squad, it comes like, as a squad leader, you always want people to engage, right? To dare to share more, very less. And then it can be like, okay, photo of you and your cat when you're doing something like fun or so and so. So this is something I would be happy to share in the cat squad, but I would not like to share it in the Skapa squad, for example. So then you take the photo, or like you take the content, so you can do photo or video, and then you post it either inside of the squad only, because the problem with social media is that on Facebook, for example, you have your friends, you have your colleagues, you have your relatives, the social graph is so big, so you become like, I don't want to post anything because people will not like what I'm posting. So it becomes very low engaging also for a lot of people, or you don't end up posting at all. And then to think about Instagram. So Instagram is about that, okay, it's maybe very high engaging content once you are posting, but the journey of actually posting is quite big because the pressure on Instagram is quite high when it's creating perfect content. And then if you think about Be Real then, Be Real has really cracked this thing about that, you're only sharing in your smaller group of friends. Those are the only ones that can see your ugly photos about what you're doing right now. But Be Real is very authentic content, so you can be yourself, but at the same time, it's very low engaging content for people outside of our smaller group. So if the three of us,
like niche content for you.
Yeah. So if the three of us, we're really good friends, and I'm posting, or like I'm taking a photo of my coffee cup right now, and my face. You're like, you like Denise, like I like Denise, so I know what she's doing, but I know what she's up to right now. It's maybe a little bit relevant for you, but imagine then that I'm posting this photo of the coffee cup and my face, like to the discovery, right? Which is the reality now on Be Real. So then if you want to do something else and just looking at your closer friends group photos, when you go to discovery, what you're going to see is ugly photo from random person. It's a little bit difficult to connect with that person. So what we're doing here is that it's very similar to, I would say that Leka is a mix between, say, like Be Real and TikTok. So TikTok is very amazing because you open up TikTok, you don't have to have any friends at all, and then you scroll, and then suddenly it becomes very curated, like very perfect engaging content for you based on what you like. So that's high engaging content, and when TikTok came out, it was also very authentic content in comparison to other platforms. Now, to be a TikTok creator, it's more perfectionism there because the level is so high. But then it comes down to that you see a lot of content, but you really want to connect with the person that created the content, the creator behind the cat video, the tennis video, etc., etc. And here is where we create this environment where you can share only in your squad, and you feel safe to share only in your squad. If you feel that you want to share the content to like publicly, that is possible. And then when other people are scrolling inside of Leka, you can see content similar to TikTok that is based on what you like in terms of interest, but there's also a chance for you to connect with the creator behind the content. So if you live in Singapore and you like food, and then you're scrolling on Leka, and then you're like, blah, 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 oh, and you're seeing this photo with like some people like having food and well, in Singapore, and then you see that, okay, you can actually choose to join into the squad if you want to. You can choose to connect with them. So this is also like how we see that, how do people connect these days? Because it's not really straightforward. How do you find a person that is suitable for you based on, and it can down to it's all like mutual interests. So with Leka, it's once again that, so the base question is like, how do you create this environment that people can be themselves? And it's really true, like who is really themselves all the time? I am myself now with you, but it's a side of myself that I'm not with my parents, for example. And it's all that we believe is creating then different squads, basically, different communities you can express yourself.
So you compartmentalized your environment into different squads. You can be one side of you to that squad, another side to the other one. Love it. You mentioned connecting through squads. I get that. My question is, once you're in the squad, do you then connect on a one-to-one level, or is it always as a squad?
Yeah, you can connect to one-to-one level. So it's so the whole thing is that if you think Facebook groups, is that you're writing the post and then you add in the photo. But now things are very photo, video, like focused. You think about TikTok, for example. Yeah. So someone uploads something, then you write in the comments and you connect like based on that. So now it's since it's the same with us, we are very content focused. So people can comment and connect like in the chat. We have like a Reddit function, so you can upvote and like you can downvote different comments. You create like discussions based on content. But then the plan is also to create. We don't have a chat between two people right now, but that is something that we're going to add in. So it's exactly what you said. It's you can. You should talk about like extroverted and introverted people. That extroverted people, maybe I need to speak more and like I feel that we connect. But actually, if you're maybe more introverted, you don't have to necessarily say something. You can just maybe like sit around with a lot of people that share something in common with you and just feel a sense of belonging. And it's the same that I think that all of us, we scroll maybe Reddit, we look at YouTube comments, and we don't necessarily like engage in the conversations, right? Mm-hmm. But it's just the whole thing that you don't have to engage if you don't want to, but it's the
you just feel a sense of belonging.
Yeah, and also another thing is that now these days when you're scrolling on TikTok, you're scrolling on Instagram, you're feeling lonelier and lonelier and lonelier because everyone has a perfect lives. But what we believe and what we see now in Leka is that the whole feeling when you're scrolling and seeing relevant content for you from people that share something in common with you, but you're seeing the unfiltered size of the content. That is actually creating this feeling of authentic content. People. Exactly. That is creating this tick in the box. the sense of belonging, like Instagram doesn't.
Boom, Instagram.
Yeah.
And well, have you always wanted to start something, start a company, Denise? Have you always been entrepreneurial? Was this something that was always your plan down the line?
No. So I think I've always been a person who wanted to, if I see something that I don't like, I would like to maybe like try to fix it in some way. So I think that my personality is more that. So something that shaped me a lot is that my mom actually passed away when I was 9 here in Sweden in cancer.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah. So I think that's that's also a time when I started to think more about Vietnam. That in another country on the other side of the world, I'm like everyone. I have 2 parents because everyone wants to be like everyone else, right? Especially at that age. So first I wanted to become a doctor because I wanted to sort of solve that problem, find a cure to cancer. And then I just got into the diplomatic programs website by accident, and wanted to become a diplomat instead because I thought that that's how I can make a real difference, in the world. So I think that now when it comes to solving problems, I think all of us want to solve problems, right? And I think that when it comes to, I have many very high achieving and very motivated and driven friends. But I think that what is maybe the difference if you want to become an entrepreneur, especially a tech entrepreneur, where it's going very fast, a lot when you're taking external capital. I think it's a lot of your appetite to risk actually and to uncertainty. You can be a super high achiever and you don't have to have your own company or want to become an entrepreneur and so on. So. And I think that now I didn't know what it was going to be like to have my own company or to be an entrepreneur or a CEO now of 30 people. But I would say that looking at my previous, what I've done and where I have developed, sort of, I think that this suits me very well because I like when things are fast-paced. I like to be able to sort of take things in my own hands and move things to a certain direction and change things. I don't think it's the easiest thing all the time. So no, I didn't dream about becoming an entrepreneur. But now when I am, I think it's very suitable.
So
it suits
maybe
you.
a follow-up question. So we have obviously a lot of listeners that may want to become entrepreneurs, right? And especially tech entrepreneurs. I guess this is the hot thing, right? What would be your advice to anyone that wants to go down this route?
I would say really trying to find a problem that you are really, really, really passionate about. It sounds like a very cliche, but I haven't done this for an extremely long amount of time, but it's not always going to be the road there is not, as I said, it's not really straight. So it's going to be so many days when it's you think you will solve it this way. Oh no, it's not really working out, or it's not exactly what you planned. So I think this whole thing about persistency is extremely important because the thing is that you're not going to be motivated every day. You have to be very disciplined because and if you're going to be disciplined, everything makes it easier if you create something or if you're trying to solve something that you personally are very empowered, feel very, very, very strongly for solving. So that is one thing. And then I also think that it's very important if you want to become an entrepreneur, a tech entrepreneur, that we see so much things in media about this person raised this round or it's so easy, or we just had this idea of raising 10 million just on a PowerPoint, and you see all these success stories, these happy stories, these cases, right? And then you may be listening to interviews with entrepreneurs and you see the whole glory side of things. And that is of course a part of it, but of course it's also, that's something that I think everyone should be upfront about, is that of course that if you choose to become an entrepreneur, you believe that you're going to do something that most people will fail to do. So you're automatically quite positive. And it's of course you need to, it's spreading that image forward. But I think it's also important if someone wants to This is not to discourage anyone. It's more to motivate even more to just do the research. I think it's also important to see that maybe look at people who didn't take in external funding. Maybe it took a longer time, but maybe that suits better, because if you take in external funding, that is also going to lead to a certain pressure to maybe scale, or it's going to lead to other things. And I think that there's such a big, so many people talk about mental health. And I think that maybe not so much about mental health when it comes to, entrepreneurship or founders or so. Because maybe as a founder, as a CEO and entrepreneur, you should always be so positive and so happy. But I have a lot of friends who are running their own companies, and it's very stressful, a lot of uncertainty. And I think that it's if you look at the stats, most people are going to fail, and it's completely okay to fail. But it's very tough, I imagine, to fail when you have poured so much energy and ambition and your life into an idea. But I think that before you are taking the step and maybe quitting your job or going all in, I think it's fair to yourself, because you're probably feeling that urge to do it because you see all the positive sides. But I think to have a really 360 degrees just analysis around it, also look at the whole, the tougher sides with being an entrepreneur, and see that, okay, it's a lot of struggle, and there's a lot of, I think, mental health discussion to be talked about here. And then I think before deciding to go into it, that's the research I would advise everyone to do.
So very interesting. I love the way you summarized it, and I obviously noted it down, finding the problem, be passionate about it because it's gonna get tough, and you gotta wake up every day and do it anyway. The funding pressure, I think I think a lot of people will relate to that. It's cool to raise money, but it comes with strings, right? You mentioned something interesting on mental health, and I happen to agree a lot with it. I think it's not talked about a lot in this environment, the toll it takes on people and et cetera, right? So, how would you want to change that in your view, right? When you say do your research, et cetera, how do you think this could improve for people? Just an opinion from that aspect.
Yeah, I think that exactly, do the research, right? But what research is to do if no one is sharing about it? If everyone is pretending that, as it is, right, that everything is so perfect and so fun. And so I think that what I would like to do about it is, I think my style is quite, I hope, authentic. I'm not trying to be anyone else. I know I'm not an expert in certain things. I know I know certain things. It's just that I'm just myself. And I think that what I would like to do is just continue to try to be, authentic and open. If ever, I'm talking to you now, right, about that I know that there is not only 10 out of 10 and it's not only perfect. And I think that if more people in my position talk about it and be open about that, maybe do a little split in the positive LinkedIn posts about all the successes, maybe also about that, it's not so, maybe other things. I think that that would help other people in the ecosystem. I think it's not about entrepreneurs, so it's just in general, just there to share your struggles, right? Because life is not always perfect. So I think that what I would like to do is just continue to try to be as open and honest and authentic about it as possible. And luckily, I have a quite good, I usually work out a lot, and it's important to keep your sort of mental health in control. So I luckily
work out and prioritize yourself too.
Exactly. So I didn't hit the wall burn out, and I hope I would never do. But I think that, I would say personally that I would consider myself a very persistent person, quite positive and strong and so. And I can really say that it's, especially in this market environment with a lot of uncertainty, right? I mean, it was definitely better to be an entrepreneur, I think, 2 years ago than right now, looking at all the, in some ways. So I think that, Yeah, so that's something
better in terms of funding, but every struggle is an opportunity, right?
Definitely.
The fact that like for us, we would not exist if it weren't for the pandemic, right?
Yeah.
We solve a problem that came through the pandemic, etc. So yeah, I hear what you're saying. We can relate to everything you just said. Trust us.
Yeah.
Also, I do have another question, Jackie, if I may. So we spoke a lot about sorry, I'm taking too far, Jackie. Sorry. We spoke a lot about the problem you solve, the community, the way your approach, your unique approach. I love everything about it. What we haven't spoken about much is the tech, right? Ultimately, we do want to, if possible, like to go a little bit deeper into that, because ultimately we have a lot of tech listeners. It would be good to do a little bit of a deep dive, at least one level lower. How does it work under the hood, conceptually at least? How beyond compartmentalizing, etc., matching? What are some of the algorithms that really make or break you right now?
Well, yeah. So in terms of we have a very strong recommendation algorithm. That is what is the most important for us, and that is what we have been setting up now this latest 6-7 months and been training. And it is this is why we have 2 data analysts or like data scientists inside our own team. And I think that to do something like this in-house and have my co-founder who has the AI background between us, that is a strong competitive advantage. And it simply works that it's all about data, right? So it's just that the more and more content that people upload, the more and more that we can sort it. So you don't have to even write that you are doing this right now or like la la la. So we can just see on your image, okay, this is a girl that is that is drinking coffee, she's at this place, and so it's just like sorting data simply, and then just completely setting up the whole system, just like train the algorithm, is becoming better and better and better at recommendations simply. So that is I think I usually like the deep. I don't know how like the next like level you want to go, but I can say that that is sort of like that I feel very comfortable explaining it. But then it's it's everything from that I can say more like from a standard point of view. Fika. So we have 2 million downloads with Fika, and we have over 1 million now verified profiles on Fika, which means that we have been checking all the profiles with operators, manually verifying that each person is real, because there's a lot of problem on dating apps, especially when it comes to fake profiles, etc. So then it's we have been able to build something called AI Find, which we're going to launch later this year, and that is that you, based on simply looks, interest, and personality, can find someone suitable based on what you like. So we take into consideration how you have been using the app, but also since we have a lot of data, since we have a lot of photos, since we're able to extract different features of people, and also from that people have uploaded, simply like interest and so and so. And since we're also having a lot of personality tests, we're now talking about Fika because that is how we started to train this algorithm in the very beginning. We're using MBTI, 16 personality tests. So a lot of just like questions that people have responded to, having over 300,000 personality tests. And now later you'll be able to type in simply, you can upload a photo of a person, like of a style that you like, if you have a specific taste in person, and you can type in how you want the person to be based on looks and interests. And then you will be able to find a person or like find people then based on that description. Quite cool.
Sounds amazing. And well, you mentioned like you have a data analyst in-house, Denise. Are there services that you prefer to keep in-house, and are there services that you prefer to outsource in your company?
Everything in-house. So
everything is in-house.
We keep everything in-house. So that's how we're doing it from the very beginning and continue to this day.
And as a tech company, early stage, I get it. So is all of it, where's your team based?
Everyone is based in Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam. So there are 30 people.
Fantastic.
I love the food in Vietnam. Let me just say it. I think they have the best. You guys have the best food in the world. But I know we're just a little bit pressed for time, Denise, but there aren't a lot of female founders, considering also last month was International Women's History Month. There are not a lot of female founders, but then especially not a lot of female CEOs. So how is it to be a female CEO, especially in the tech industry? How is it, and do you have any advice for female CEOs out there who might be listening to our show and just starting up?
Yeah. Okay, so if you're a female CEO with a business background, as me, I think find a technical co-founder if you want to go into tech. I think that's something really, really good to do. And I think that if you are a female with a tech background, if like a female overall, I think what I usually say is that it's all about confidence a lot of times. And I think that the advice is just to simply believe in yourself, that you can do it. Why couldn't you? I think that women, with a lot of times, I think that sometimes women don't have as much confidence, I would say, as men in themselves, or like wanting to think that. I often see that often I'm not sure that I can do it, and feel this like uncertainty. And the thing is that when you are going to be a CEO, right, you have to believe that you have the competence and that you can actually tell people what to do. For example, that you have the judgment to lead things forward, and that you can do it. And what I usually say is that if you never try, you already fail. And I think that's the thing, that a lot of it comes down to confidence. That a lot of women out there, like you're as good as everyone else, as smart as everyone else, as competent as everyone else. What's only missing is the whole belief that you can do it. And for me, I have always been a female CEO in tech, so I cannot compare with anything else. But I think that if the fear for maybe other potential aspiring female CEOs in tech is that you're going to be looked at, like, I don't know, pushed out, or I don't know, that's maybe not competent, or so. I think it's just like, not you just be yourself, don't, and that is good enough. No need to try to. For me, for example, I don't have a tech background. My co-founder is the CTO. He has a tech background. That we're doing a tech startup. It's not only about the tech. It's a lot of different components. It's a lot of different components. And if you want to be a CEO in tech and you are a female and you feel afraid that you are techy enough, or that you are afraid that other people will treat you in a certain way, I have not experienced that ever. And I'm not trying to be anything else than I am. And as I will say also to other females out there, that no need to try to fit in something that you see that this is how you're supposed to be as a tech CEO. Yeah.
Wonderfully said. Don't try to be anybody else but yourself. Mic drop.
Mic drop. We should stop right there.
Very nice. Well, Denise, it was very lovely talking to you. It was very nice. You're such an admirable woman. Now, for anybody who would like to get in touch with you or find you, where can our listeners do that?
Yeah, thank you so much, Jackie, Walter. Really appreciate your time. And and if someone wants to get in contact, I'm quite active on LinkedIn. So Denise Sandquist. And I have Instagram. I have Leka as well. I have Instagram and Facebook, and my email is denise@skapa.ai. So I think LinkedIn is the best. LinkedIn or email is where I'm most frequent.
Fantastic. And for sure, Denise is in the Skapa squad and also in the cat squad. We might be able to find her there as well.
That's true.
Well, Again, Denise, thank you once again for taking the time to be with us today. I'm sure for us, for me, and for Walter, and for our listeners, your insights have been incredibly valuable. And we wish you success in all that you do in Skapa, in Leka, and in Fika. And it's just absolutely amazing. So more success to you. And
Thank you.
Well, that's a wrap for today's episode of Mangtas Nation. Thanks for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed the conversation and learned something new today. And definitely we'll be back next time with another great episode. Once again, this is Jackie Demang.
Walter Del Bare.
And stay tuned for the next episode of Mangtas Nation.
Thank you for tuning in to Mangtas Nation. Mangtas, your curated marketplace for B2B outsourcing solutions. Follow our social media pages to know more about us. Sign up as a client or sign up as a vendor and be part of this global B2B marketplace. Join us at www.mangtas.com.